Sewage backups, a homeowner's nightmare, but it goes from bad to worse when it's not your fault, but you're left with thousands of dollars in damages anyway. For Janesville's Maggie Huffrey, every safety net that's supposed to be in place has left her with nothing.
This isn't my fault. I didn't cause the damage.
Maggie Huffrey has lived here on Frederick Street in Janesville since 1983.
I worked at Mercy Hospital for 25 years.
2020 was hard for a lot of people, but for her, harder than most.
I lost a daughter in February. She lived with me the last 6 years she was alive. I helped take care of her.
7 months later,
it came to the top of the second step here.
A disabled veteran. She isn't quite sure what day she learned about the flood of water and sewage that left her basement destroyed in September.
Behind the wall and at the base is all mold and sewage.
For her, it's painful just to walk downstairs.
The back corner over there is where a lot of the water damage is.
Maggie tells me that the water and sewage came right up about here to the second step. And if you follow me through here, you can still see there's mold, there's dried sewage still left here on the floor, but it's not just the basement impacted. It also took out her washer and her dryer. And one last big expense, the furnace. She's also been without heat since all of this went down in September. She stayed for 2 months until she couldn't.
It got too cold. I was just way too cold.
Trying to figure out how to handle a $15,000 mess.
Just don't have it. You know, there's just no way of getting it.
She physically and financially couldn't navigate.
I was trying to get something done and not just abandon the house, but, you know, I love my house. I've had it, you know, for years and raised my kids here. I don't want to lose it.
City documents show the backup started when roots from a neighbor's property grew into the city's main line under the street, causing sewage to back into Maggie's basement.
We had cleaned that main in February of 2019.
Okay.
Was the last time it was cleaned, so those roots grew between then and 9/16 of 20.
She reported it to the city September 16th, which is when the department removed the blockage and the water drained back out of her basement.
Probably the most common thing for us to get backups from are from roots.
It's the city's property, which their own documentation says they're responsible for. But Janesville said they'd reject her claim.
They've just taken no responsibility. They blame the neighbors for it.
That was confusing to her since the city worker who checked the basement out told her this.
He said, send any bills to the city of Janesville.
The city says they legally aren't liable because they cleaned it as soon as they learned about it.
The city also, it's not at fault for that either. It's nothing that the city did here to cause the obstruction.
Legal counsel for the League of Wisconsin Municipalities told me that in Wisconsin, cities generally aren't liable for sewer backups. In 2009, a legal summary of Wisconsin liability law says a court did leave the possibility of liability open if a tree root caused a blockage. Janesville received grade A ratings from the DNR in 2018 and 2019 for their wastewater system maintenance. Ultimately, Janesville's assistant city attorney says they didn't know about it before, so they don't need to pay up.
The city just can't prevent every type of obstruction that could happen.
The other issue, insurance.
They gave me $1,000, which isn't going to cover hardly anything. Maybe the dumpster.
An old insurance policy only included $1,000 in water backup damage. Maggie tried appealing to the state insurance commissioner. They couldn't help her.
It is an unfortunate situation.
If you're a homeowner, pay attention to this and check your policy. Most home insurance policies don't cover sewage or sump pump damage. That's according to UW-Madison professor of risk and insurance, Tyler Leverty.
Unfortunately, water backup is not a part of the standard homeowners insurance coverage. It has to be purchased through an endorsement. Insurance does, that's its whole role, is to cover unforeseen, unknown things that are not the responsibility of a homeowner.
Those separate endorsements typically cover between $5,000 and $25,000 in damage. This is why Leverty says it's so valuable to use an insurance agent or broker when making policy decisions. But for Maggie, it's too late.
Nobody wants to take the responsibility or help. I don't know if there's anybody out there that could help or not. I don't know who else to talk to.
Reporting for News 3 Investigates, I'm Naomi Coles.
Maggie has reached out to a range of elected officials and community resources for help with no results. Maggie's daughter, who you saw in that story, started a GoFundMe to try to help cover these expenses. You can find a link to that in our coverage online. Investigative reporter Naomi Coles can be reached at News 3 Investigates at WISCTV.com.